The name of our project's under construction, and for community building, under construction seems kind of a funny name. It's that name because, yeah, we got Roseanne. It's named that because it was our working title before we came up with the project. Jill asked, well, what's the name of your project? And we said, well, I don't know, it's under construction. So we named it that. But when Jill asked us to come up with the final name, we thought under construction still applied because it turns out that our idea and our project was under construction and changing the whole time. So we found it was fitting. We'd like to give you an overview of what we're going to discuss today. Ryan, myself, and Curtis are going to go over the process. It's just really the way we got to where we are today. And Felix is going to speak to the needs assessment, which is what our project became. And then I'm going to provide some final thoughts, and then we'll be done.
Yep.
Can you go back?
Go back and return it. Go back and hit the back there.
Yeah. You're going to see interspersed in here pictures of...
Lights off, please.
Okay, lights off, please. Thanks. You're going to see in here interspersed pictures of where we all work, and we feel that's important because we chose to, for the first 4 or 5 meetings at least, we chose to work at, or meet at each other's workplaces. And it's relevant because we feel it really helps build the framework of our project, knowing what each other did. Really added something to our project. This is American Canyon Middle School. Roseanne Gasser, working the PowerPoint presentation, is the principal. And it's off Donaldson Way. And so if you ever get a chance, pull off Donaldson Way and head down there, and it's a beautiful school right next to a brand new community center. At our first meeting, we talked about rules because Jill told us we need to set rules. But we noticed right off that we were all going to get along. We shared we saw right off that our expectations were common. And so our rules were very, very bare. You must bring your calendar. You must contact somebody if you can't make a meeting. Communicate via email if you can't make a meeting, but we always prefer to meet face to face. And during this first meeting, the crux of it was, what does community building mean? We all felt that the community involves more than just the city of Napa. It involves many issues: healthcare, seniors, bringing ethnic groups together. And we just threw around, we went really basic and just tried to figure out what brings people together. Is it chaos or crisis? The earthquake had just happened. And we saw that that's something that really got the community together. Cuddly animals are always very cuddly. And we came up with some idea for an animal show, a countywide animal show. And then, of course, there's cute babies. One thing I forgot to mention is Curtis had a baby Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I took community building a little more serious.
What would our project look like, real quickly? It would look intergenerational, cross-cultural, countywide, practical, enjoyable, and rewarding. And now I'm going to hand it off to Curtis, who will go over our next meeting.
As you can see, our next meeting was held at the Clay Street Garage. Actually, on the second level there, you'd never know it, but there's this little doorway. And you go through this doorway, and it's the main office for the NCCEO, which is the Napa County Council for Economic Outreach Opportunity. Next slide, please. At our previous meeting, as Ryan said, we went over our criteria of what we were going for. We tried to focus our brainstorming at this point and try to pick a project and run with it. So we shared some experiences about the homeless and the need for homeless shelters. We talked about possibly going together with the Interfaith Council and providing some type of shelters when the temperatures were getting cold at the end of October. We also talked about transportation for the elderly during the daytime, possibly utilizing school buses to get them to their appointments. And then language barriers. The large Hispanic community that we have, we were concerned the bilingual operators for different resources weren't out there. This was very soon after our Health and Human Services Day, which I think my eyes were really wide open to how many resources we actually have here in the Valley. Living here all my life, I didn't realize all these services were here, so we came to this big question: how do people know where the help is, and how can there be an easier way to maybe have them go to one number? Next slide. Ryan shared with us his experience down in San Luis Obispo. They have a project down there called Hotline. It's just one number people call Hotline, and then they can get any kind of health information or referral service that they might possibly need. We spoke about possibly putting together a resource guide of that caliber, one-stop shopping basically for any need you might have as far as crisis or any type of help. We talked about maybe making a 24-hour hotline available. We actually came together, put this number together, 24/7 help. We got pretty excited. We tried to use it that night and it wasn't available, or it wasn't in use. So we thought maybe we can get this number. So we got pretty excited about that. We thought that might change the community and be able to advertise that number. We also talked about possibly putting this whole service online and making it usable for all the service providers in the community and the nonprofits. Next slide. So we set together our homework. We decided to gather all the resource guides that we could possibly gather in the community, and there's a bunch. We decided to still go with the possibility of helping out the homeless with their shelters. And then we looked for possible sponsors and try to identify all the nonprofits that this would serve. And then we also create our vision statement, which would be: success will be when people can easily locate, access, and utilize the help that they need. Next slide. Our next meeting was at the Napa Chamber in Ryan today.
Thanks, Curtis. Just real quickly about the Napa Chamber of Commerce. Kate King, who's missing today, is the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, and we all learned, especially on Business Day of Leadership, how much of a broad spectrum of services the Chamber provides for the businesses. They're everywhere, and you don't even know it. So I was really impressed with what they do. At this point, we were continuing to gather all the various resource guides, and we were finding a bunch. And while doing that, we're noticing that there's a lot of information, but too many separate places to look for it. So our project got even more steam in front of it. And we became much more focused at that point, because who could argue that there's a need? Because we're saying to ourselves, we wouldn't know where to go if we needed a particular service or a particular type of help. So we came up with a schedule. This is what we'd do. We'd collect all the remaining resource guides that we hadn't gotten yet. We'd continue to research the 800 lines. We'd schedule a meeting with the nonprofits for their buy-in, which is pretty key, and you'll find that out later. And we'll put together this comprehensive resource guide and hotline. You see phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And the next meeting, Curtis will go over, was held at Morgan Lane Realty, which is where Curtis works.
Thanks, Ryan. Go ahead and switch the slide. Once we started researching how many guides were out there and thought that we had this great idea, we realized that there was actually other people that thought this as well, and they were trying to do the same thing. We decided that, hey, maybe we can partner with them and make it even a better project. And we were also still debating what the scope of our project would be. If it would be this hotline or the resource guide. And of course, the resource guide would probably be in effect before the hotline. And we were still trying to hit that darn 800 number, because we really latched onto that, and we really thought that could make a difference. At that time also, it was right before the holidays, and we really decided that we were not going to have a meeting for about a month, so we decided to really utilize that email. And I think that really helped our project out, be able to communicate back and forth and keep it alive. Although in our face-to-face meetings, we really tried to go for everyone being attending. So if someone couldn't attend, we basically would reschedule the meeting so we could have all our team members there. So our next meeting was at Riker, Spence & Associates, Ryan's place of business, and we'll tell you a little about that.
Thank you. Real briefly about Riker, Spence & Associates. We're a very local engineering firm. Provide all kinds of engineering services. If there's a project you see going on in Napa, we're most likely involved in it, or we should have been. There's one other competitor out there. There's Chaudhry Associates, but I hear they're leaving the industry for the restaurant business, so that's great. That's great. What have we discovered so far? And what I'm about to say, we're starting to get cautious about our project. We're finding that, hey, certain agencies are already providing 24-hour hotlines, and we came up with a whole list of them. There's a suicide prevention hotline put on by the Volunteer Center. Volunteer Center also couples with Health and Human Services to run a brand new hotline, 24-hour hotline called Front Porch. There's a sexual assault victims hotline. So there's a lot of people out there already doing what we're talking about. We learned that HelpLink also is attempting to do a universal resource hotline, if you call it that. It's 211. Rather than call 411 for information, you'll call 211 to find out where to go for help. That's in the works, but it's in the future. County's also working right now to create a county-wide comprehensive resource guide plus website. And to add more to this, we're finding that our 800 number idea may not be viable because there's a lot of logistical problems involved with it. It doesn't work as easy as one would think. And so now we're saying we better talk with the nonprofits and figure out what they think. And so that's when our next meeting occurred, and Curtis will speak to that.
That's right. This meeting was, of course, key. It was what we call our critical meeting. We had Carl Porter there from Health and Human Services, Darlene Howell, and she's from the County Office of Education. We had Kathy McCabe, she's with the Volunteer Center and Front Porch, and then also Tracy Lamb, Sexual Assault Victim Services. At this point, we basically made a presentation of what we thought we'd like to do, and asked them a series of questions. And we were sort of told, basically, next slide. But they didn't want what we wanted to give them at that point. So what we tried to do at that point was take what they did want and put that into a needs assessment guide and try to get together with another community partner and put that together. And Felix is going to go ahead and go over the needs assessment, which is basically our project now. We've really spent a lot of time on this, and Felix will.
Thank you, Curtis. So, although the process, was a little bit frustrating, we did get a lot of valuable information out of that. We found out that nonprofits want and need more volunteers, of course, but that they need a lot of those volunteers to be bilingual because many of their clients are Spanish-speaking only, monolingual in many cases. That they need help in publicity and marketing, not only of their services that they provide, but also getting the word out. The Front Porch is a relatively new project, and their hotline, Caring Connections, is new as well. And so they need help in making the public more aware of that. HelpLink is another service that Ryan and Curtis both mentioned, but its cost is very prohibitive. I think a CD for the HelpLink resource guide costs about $1,800, which is a cost that a small nonprofit that has a tight budget won't necessarily be able to afford. So another need we found was a resource guide and crisis hotline specifically for teens, something that would be more accessible to them. An improved telephone system for existing hotline services was also a need because a lot of the hotlines use answering services, which makes it a little bit problematic, increases their cost as well. We talked to them about pooling resources to produce a more comprehensive resource guide, and they were interested in that, and they were also interested in bilingual websites that would serve agencies countywide. Next slide, please. So what we did next was take this information. We were sitting here thinking, well, what can we do with this? What is valuable about this process? And we realized that we had actually gone through a process of creating a needs assessment, which is a valuable tool in itself. So in terms of realizing our goal of a universal resource guide and hotline, this is actually the first step, which we did without intending to and kind of stumbled on this. So we developed a needs assessment report that summarized the current needs of the county service providers I'm part of a group called Fuerte, which in Spanish means strong or strength. And as you can see, fostering unity, empowerment, resiliency, tolerance, and education. This is a group of community prevention service providers, and they have a universal resource guide also as one of their goals. So we're going to take this needs assessment and pass it on to that organization, which is going to continue the work. Kate did a wonderful job in developing a marketing plan with lots of tips for nonprofit organizations that we've included in the report as an addendum. And the Chamber has also agreed to host nonprofits on their websites. Right now, or up until this point, they had generally done that for nonprofits who were members of the Chamber, but they have decided to extend this service to all nonprofit agencies. Next slide. So we have a community partnership with Fuerte, and we've created awareness that will benefit the community in the long term. Next slide. Key learnings from Ryan.
So we're wrapping up here. As Felix said, we had a great idea, and we lost some of the wind in our sails for that idea, but we quickly turned it around and figured out what we can do with it. We looked at our notes and said, wait a minute, we have a lot of information here, let's do something with it. And we put our heads together, and after many meetings came up with a needs assessment, which Felix had described. So this is the last slide, and but I feel the most important because this is where we provide the greater meaning to what we've done. And Jill picked us to go last because she thought we were best suited to assign the greater meaning for the other groups. I thought about this order, so I'm going to go in reverse order. The first key learning we had through this project is the friendship and relationship we've developed with our community partners. Not only in our small group sessions, but with the community partners we worked with for our project, but also the people in leadership who we met and we can really call upon when we need them. It's great to have that network there, so I think everybody here agrees that that's one of the most valuable parts of this program. The second to last is just a great respect for those service providers who, how we say, serve in the trenches. Felix, working in this field, knows exactly what I'm talking about. I worked in managing a shelter for years in San Luis Obispo, and especially after Health and Human Services Day, a lot of us saw hands-on what people do. We saw clients come in, and some of them were not very nice. So these people work in the trenches, and there's no one person who can help everybody, but there's all these individuals out there who are working towards the greater good. So respect for them is very strengthened. And then last, and then we'll leave you, is just respect for leaders. Jill and John warned us against this, but we wanted to change the world with this project. But we figured out quickly that we couldn't change the world, so we scaled it down to something realistic. We wanted to significantly change Napa. And we didn't do that either. but we will. We have potential. We did learn, though, that to solve the problem that we've undertaken and all the problems the other groups have undertaken, to solve these little problems that contribute to all the problems in this community, you know, it's not a 9-month process. Oftentimes it's a lot longer than that. It takes patience, time, perseverance, and we learned quickly that, you know, the 9 months of this program wasn't enough for a lot of the problems we have to face. And so our hats are off to those that are doing this every day, who find time above their jobs, their family, and their responsibilities to actually spend the time to deal with these issues. So thank you to all those people. Next slide.